take that moment to collect your thoughts. Exactly, you want to start? Oh, you're ready, sir.
So I'd like to begin this presentation by talking a little bit about my family. Everybody on my mom's side of the family were all farmers. They grew up kind of poor. You know, the boys, when they got older, they inherited a farm and got married. The girls, they married a farmer. On my dad's side of the family, everybody in that side of the family were blue-collar workers. Everybody made pretty low wages. I'm the first male in my family to go to college, actually. And something that was very related to them was the minimum wage. So the federal minimum wage in the United States is $7.25 an hour. That's pretty meager, considering the cost of living these days. And during this speech, I'm going to cover the pros and cons of minimum wage. I'm going to say why it should be raised, and then I'm going to cover some other options and some additions that need to be made to the change. So, as I already said, it's $7.25 an hour, and the proposed raise, and based on the statistics I found for this research, the proposed raise would be to $9 an hour. Now, I'm going to begin talking about the pros of raising minimum wage. So, the federal minimum wage, if it were raised, would help alleviate poverty, and for many families that can't afford to feed themselves, buy health care. Some of these families are on Medicaid. It would relieve some of the stress and strain on the government. It would also improve employee productivity for all these minimum wage jobs. If workers feel like they're getting a fair wage, they're much more likely to be productive, and they're much more likely to work quicker. Also, it would challenge the wage gap in the social classes that we all face today. Since the 1980s, the middle class has been declining, and increasing minimum wage would have a slight improvement on the middle class size. And it would not have effect on the high class size. So with this, there comes some negative aspects. First of all, raising minimum wage would have a pretty large impact on small businesses. So if small businesses, maybe they could afford 2 workers before at $7.25 an hour, maybe they could only afford 1 worker and 1 part-time worker at $9 an hour. Especially if this wage were raised to maybe $15 an hour. It was actually proposed to do that in 2014, didn't go through. And also, a lot of big businesses, they're going to invest in more technology, more automation, and they're going to look for outsourced labor if the United States raises their wages. The other negative but also positive aspect is inflation. So normally, the way inflation works is you would expect the wages to go. You would expect jobs to decrease. So you would expect the cost of living to increase as minimum wage increases. This is a directly proportional relationship. But there's really little effect on the cost of living whenever there's moderate increases. So the most exaggerated statistic I could find on this was that if a 10% price increase were made on minimum wage, that means fast food would increase by 4%. So if your workers made $8 an hour, there'd be 12 cents difference in the price of your burger when you go to McDonald's. And the other negative aspect that should have covered was a price floor. So minimum wage is considered a price floor, which is an economic term. So as the supply of work, this would be the equilibrium, okay? This is the current minimum wage. If a price floor were made, that would raise the price of wages to that high. So your supply of workers would increase because more people want to work for that wage, but your demand for workers would decrease because companies can't afford to hire that many workers. So between these 2 dots, the price floor, you create a surplus of workers. So that means some percentage of workers are going to get laid off if there's a minimum wage increase, which is what I covered in the next slide. About 1/5 of workers would lose minimum wage workers would lose their jobs in the United States if minimum wage were increased. So, why should minimum wage be increased with all these negative aspects? Well, if it were just increased to $9 an hour, the increased cost of living and inflation wouldn't be affected. You wouldn't see a change in the increased cost of living if minimum wage were just changed by just a little. It would alleviate poverty for over 2 million people, which is a big deal. And the job quality would be better than the job loss. So you'd have 2 million people with better jobs. You would have people without jobs, but you would still have people with better lives. And we should all have moral standards to live up to that we shouldn't want people to live in poverty. We should not want corporations to let people live in poverty. Also with this, there's comes some assistance that needs to be made to minimum wage change. The minimum wage could be changed slightly. So rather than just jumping up to $9 an hour on the 1st of 2018, we could go 75 cents and then the following year raise it $1. It'd be a lot easier on inflation, it'd be easier on small business. And also, you can take preventative measures on these big businesses to keep them from outsourcing labor. So tariffs, and also you can aim the income or the wage change at businesses in higher tax brackets. So maybe you could raise the minimum wage to $10 an hour for corporations like Walmart, Target, that are making billions of dollars each year. Maybe have their minimum wage be higher than the lower tax bracket companies that maybe don't make as much money. They could keep their $7.25 an hour. And one thing I can't hit on too much because it's a topic of its own is labor unions. This is really the only way you can raise wages without setting a federal minimum wage. Overall, it's beneficial to workers. And something I learned a year or so ago in a history class is that the minimum wage, or as the labor size, is equivalent to the minimum wage size. The labor size is equivalent to the middle class size. Okay? So, I hope I didn't cover that and confuse all of you too much, but you should have learned that a slight increase can help a lot of people. Change is necessary, and there's really no single solution to this problem. Thank you.